All right, Gabe, here we go.
Here we go, round 3.
Yeah, good. So you were just describing some whack-a-mole.
Yeah, I've been recently practicing a lot of violin and music in general and trying to be aware of my body and my surroundings and everything, but I think what I've noticed is that the first thing that comes to mind is like, I'll be like, oh, I feel like my legs are tense, let me release those. Or I'm like, oh, I'm holding my stomach, let me relax that. And I know that like one of the ideas is like, instead of doing that, sort of having like an open an open awareness, which is kind of like you're focusing on that, like the space in which you would just be aware. But that's a really hard thing for me to like, I don't know, like I'm sure I've felt that before, but maybe even, I don't know.
Okay, good.
So it's very ambiguous.
I have an easy way to this. So just for context, dear viewers, so one of the things that can happen in Alexander technique, you start noticing more and more how your body. And on the one hand, it's great. You're noticing stuff that wasn't happening, that you didn't notice before.
Right.
Like your legs are getting tight while you're playing the violin. Why the heck is that happening?
Right.
And so it becomes more noticeable, and then this body whack-a-mole thing can start happening. I did this for years. Like, oh, my legs are tight, let me try to release those. Or, oh, my neck is really tight, let me try to release that somehow.
Yeah.
And, you can just go from one body part to another in this endless cycle.
Right.
And even if you have certain ideas about movement, like if you have a particular method of releasing your legs, or a particular idea about how to do that, then you could still end up kind of like mucking about in your body.
Yeah, definitely.
And that, so it could become this kind of internal management project.
Right.
Like it's constantly managing the tension and trying to release it, which is very different than just like making music.
Right.
Or washing the dishes. So in essence, you're doing two things at once.
Right.
Which we're not so good at.
Right.
So like playing the violin and managing the tension in your neck.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. So it's useful to take a step back and to take a look at how like the very basic way of how you go about doing things. And this is what I mentioned about like the doing mode versus the receiving mode. All right. Well, we'll do a little experiment. Why don't you put your violin down for us?
Sure.
So we've talked about sense of self too. This is kind of related to that. So the doing mode, very common habit in our culture. Kind of feels like you're inside your head, looking out behind your eyes, and you're doing stuff onto the world.
Right.
Or manipulating things with your hands. The source of agency is inside here, and it extends outward, kind of like this.
Yeah.
And it feels like I'm doing this. Right. So let's do that. You want to tap your fingers together, one after another. Okay, you're really doing it. You're making a little pattern there. You're going to go a little bit faster. All right, you're doing. Okay, you got to do it. Got to do it right though. You don't mess up. Okay.
I'm not doing it right.
Okay, so what's happening in your body as you do that?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the biggest thing I noticed is like my forearms got pretty tense. Yeah.
What about the rest of you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say relatively not loose.
One of the things about
I don't even know, I guess, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's something that can happen. Like the field of attention gets
It's narrow
that you don't even notice what's happening. One thing that's really useful to notice with the doing mode is which way your head is going. It's just like the source of agency is up here, and so it's like when you're looking at something in the distance, it's like that's moving towards the distance, right? And so that's one way you can know that you're in the doing mode, so to speak, is like which way is your head going? More towards the thing or more away. Why don't you do that again?
Yeah.
Okay, do the pattern. Okay, maybe change the pattern. Don't mess it up. All right, move your fingers. Okay, and which way is your head moving?
Like towards my fingers, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so now we're going to do something different. Same finger pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Think of receiving your fingers doing this.
Mm.
You can even change the finger pattern up. You can even think of getting your fingertips to line up just so, but receiving that.
That's an interesting concept.
Yeah. Which way is your head going this time?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure if I'm receiving it or not. Like, I think it's still drawn in some ways, but
Okay. What's your quality of movement like overall? Even just with this very simple thought, maybe you don't even know how to do it. It's just like, oh, what's receiving mode? What's receiving my fingers doing this? What is that actually? Even if you just ponder that, what happens in your body?
Well, I feel maybe like a little bit more like humbled, kind of. You know, because I'm like, oh, like I don't have like an agenda for my fingers, kind of. Okay. You know, I'm like, well, like that's like a kind of like a, I don't know, an intense thing to even be like, like I know we're just moving our fingers, but like, it's like, oh, like I'm not gonna like necessarily try to like impose my will on my fingers.
There you go. Okay, so when there's less of that sense of agenda, less of a sense of imposing your will, is that more narrow, or well, let's say imposing your will, having an agenda, is that more narrow or more open?
Imposing would be more narrow for sure. Because it's if you don't, because if you already have an agenda, then you don't need to really consider other things or be open to other perspectives or information.
Right, and so that points to one thing that's actually kind of useful about the doing mode. That there is a certain kind of efficiency to it. Yeah, it's like using habitual ways of being. Yeah, or heuristics, like shortcuts. Right. It's like I don't even want to think about that. I'm just going to focus on this. Right. And there is a kind of efficiency that happens with that, but it also comes with a cost, which is getting tight, stressed, believing in your thoughts too much, believing that your agenda is the right way. Right. The one right way. Yeah. Right. And like that. The agenda of control, imposing more and more control, like you were talking about with recording. Yeah. Yeah, right. It's like, and I feel like in that kind of context, like that's super relevant because I feel like efficiency is kind of like, part of me is like, oh, I'm sympathetic to the self that does that because I'm like, you know what? You think that you need to be really on your stuff and like really kind of like quick and perfect. Obviously it's not real, but you know, and efficient. Yeah. But yeah, I guess it's just a matter of building up that, and we talked a lot about trust in the self in the past and stuff, and I've been thinking a lot about that, but building up that, I guess going from trust to like, how do you build that trust? It's like maybe practicing, maybe just like showing that, I don't know, maybe that's not the right answer, but to me it seems like I need to just get good at doing things from like that open perspective. Yeah. Right. So this is the way it works. Yeah. What you're talking about right now. Yeah. Trust happens over time. Right. Yeah. And the more you practice like receiving your fingertips. You could even do this as some homework this week. Yeah. Just do this. Like, oh yeah, receiving that. Like, what if this was happening almost like by remote control? Somebody else was doing it. That's very interesting. It's such like what is that shift? Yeah.
What is that?
Well, you were talking about the ego before.
Yeah.
The doing mode is the ego in action.
Interesting.
The receiving mode is more the self of interbeing that we've been talking about. The body-mind is an open circuit completed by the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this points to. If you receive, you realize that you aren't the sole source of agency. Like the source of agency isn't this like narrow tunnel.
Right. Yeah, it feels weird to like, I guess I should say, my thought right now is like, okay, in a musical context, it makes so much sense to like receive because you're making music with people or just with yourself, but there's a room, there's the audience, there's a space. So, but it's weird to think about that from like with the context of like maybe practicing or something, or like doing like a task that you're just being like, I'm gonna do this, but it's like I'm not gonna do it, I'm gonna receive it, but it's like a very calculated activity or something.
Yeah. So there are certain kinds of activities that lend to ease more naturally.
Yeah.
And one of the great challenges of mastering an artistic craft, is to do just that, like effortless mastery. You know that book?
Yeah, right.
That comes from the bringing the receiving mode, bringing heart into playing your scales.
Wow.
Your etudes.
Right. Interesting, yeah. So like finding that sort of same lens of the musical lens even when you're doing just the mundane.
Yeah. Because what else are you practicing?
Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, if you're practicing your scales, just like phoning it in,
right,
or like narrowly controlling your body while you're practicing the scale, then that's what you're practicing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I guess it's easy for me to be like, okay, I'll just practice everything in a musical context, but I could also make every context musical, I guess.
Yes.
Which I guess is kind of a similar thing, but just a subtle. Yeah. For me, at least, that means different things. Like because then I can still work on technique.
Absolutely.
As technique, because it's fun. Like you mentioned last time, kind of thinking of it as like playing.
Yes. Yeah.
In that kind of musical way.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you realize the point of the technique when you include your heart sense.
Yeah.
When you're listening to your heart, to your inner audience member as you play a scale, then you get an embodied sense of what is that scale about.
Yeah.
Rather than, oh, this is the G minor or something.
Yeah.
Like, rather than an intellectual thing. This is so apparent in like learning music theory.
Right.
Oh, that's a Neapolitan chord. Like, I don't remember what a Neapolitan chord is. You know, and one of the reasons why is that it was presented in school as this thing floating in space.
Yeah. To
be memorized.
Right.
As opposed to like, oh, how does a Neapolitan chord feel in your body?
Right. Totally. Yeah.
Because this is what it's about.
Right.
So that's like heart and technique. So I want to say something about a situation like we're talking about with trust, building trust with the receiving mode and playing from the heart, and how to apply that to a high stakes situation like recording.
Right.
Recording in some ways is even higher stakes than being on stage because the microphone hears things differently.
Right.
Right. All the little details.
Right.
And, you know, the studio time is expensive.
Right.
And there's these people waiting for you.
Right. I get intense right now just thinking about it.
Right. So the higher the stimulus, the higher the support needs to be.
Yeah.
And so, you build trust over time with these ideas, these ways of being, and hopefully you can carry that with you into the studio. And even if you're still getting tight, if you have some awareness that there is a different possibility, that's what you can do in that moment. That's what you do. It's like, oh yeah, I do have it in me somewhere. To be more at ease. Even if you can't access that right away.
Yeah, that's real. It's helpful to even just remember that like I will be able to, like that when I'm done playing or something, I can try to release it, even at that moment.
That's another approach.
But,
right? Is, in between takes,
yeah.
you could do something as simple as like a really long out breath. Have we ever done that?
I do it all the time, but not. Oh, we've never done that, but yeah.
Yeah, this is a technique from the polyvagal theory. It's about the vagus nerve. If you have a long, extended exhale with back pressure of some kind, it could be
I've done a hiss,
or with the lips, or like ocean breath. Let's just do one together.
Yeah.
And then you just notice, is there some change in your system? Is there some change in the quality of your breath afterwards?
Yeah. I mean, I love, I feel very like peaceful.
Yeah.
I think it lowers the blood pressure.
It does.
I love doing that. Yeah.
So you could do that between takes.
Yeah. Right.
So doing things when you have some downtime, and the other sort of more fundamental approach is to come to terms with the need for control.
Yeah. That's trying to work on that too. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a number of things about that. Well, maybe you can talk about how does that show up for you, the need for control in the recording studio?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point it's like, it's very real for me. Like I can really tell. I'll be playing a take, or I'll be, okay, we're about to start recording, like, okay, everyone's ready, all right, blah, blah, blah. And like, I'm like, okay, I'm playing the phrase, and like, okay, like, I want it to sound like, I want the vibrato to be a bit faster here, so I'm like, okay, I gotta, like, that's one aspect of vibrato. I'm like, okay, I have to like force that to happen, and then I'm like, okay, but then I'm aware of this now, so I'm like, okay, don't force it, just let it be. But then I'm like playing the next phrase, and I'm like, okay, this is a shift coming up, like I got this, but like, gotta make it happen. And then like, but then it's a lot. It does feel kind of like right now I'm dealing with the symptoms, or like I'm kind of like taking it kind of chunk by chunk, which I think is okay for now. I'm just still working on all this stuff.
Yeah.
So, but it does feel like I'm still working on even like the building blocks of playing violin.
Yeah.
And just trusting myself that I don't need to, or even just practicing doing it without that controlling mentality. Because I might need to overly control certain things to make it sound the way I want it to in this very moment, because I haven't like really relaxed enough to do certain things. But just proving and showing and practicing that sort of like other way more.
So on the one hand, you make the choices that you think are appropriate. Just be aware of what choices you're making.
Right.
If you need to do like the forceful controlling thing, great.
Yeah.
Do it. It's okay.
Right. Ultimately, it's not the goal, of course, for me.
Yeah.
But
Right. If that's what's going to help you in the context.
Yeah.
So I believe that at the root of that kind of control, the desire for control in a recording studio situation, comes from like a fear of ostracism from others.
Interesting.
Fear of being shamed.
Yeah, sure. Totally. I think that's an interesting way of looking at it. It's like, if I don't perform well,
Yeah.
people aren't gonna like me, or I'm not gonna get asked back, or get paid,
or I'm not gonna be a worthy person.
Yeah, or I'm not gonna have
Right.
people aren't gonna want to be around me or something. Yeah.
This is so pervasive.
Mm-hmm.
I remember feeling such shame in like master classes in college when I made mistakes. It was crushing. Yeah, so that's like one hidden agenda is the desire to prove myself worthy.
Yeah. Oh, totally. It's not even hidden. I mean, it's just, I think it's just like, it's like a survival thing almost.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. We learn that stuff really young.
Yeah.
So another agenda, we could say, or intention in that situation or desire is like to make something really beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like already, like how does that feel in your body?
Yeah, it feels great.
Yeah, I could see a little bit of a difference, and so this is a high stakes situation. So there's gonna be like some extra energy,
right,
in your body.
Right.
There's gonna be extra alertness.
Right.
Remembering that, like, what's the best way to making something beautiful probably isn't like a piecemeal approach to your solo in that one section.
Right.
It might make a simulacrum.
I've never heard that one.
No, a simulation or something manufactured.
Oh, okay. A phony.
Mm-hmm. Whereas, what if you were to actually trust yourself? You just you make a note before of doing the take. You just clear like, oh yeah, this is one part of the take. That's another part of the take, and then you let go of that as the take begins, and you listen to your heart.
That's hard because for me, it's violin playing is so segmented. I've never thought of this before, but it's so real.
Yeah.
For me, like vibrato is like a thing.
Yeah.
And I have to deal with that separately from music, you know? Which is so silly, but it's so real. Yeah. And then shifting is a thing. And obviously I've been practicing this a while for the past few weeks, which has felt good, but still it's like, that's a thing. That's not music, you know? But man, like I'm definitely about this. Like, I'd love to not have it be so segmented like that.
Yeah.
So chunked.
Yeah. Did that come from just like the task of learning each of these techniques, do you think?
I think, yeah. I mean, definitely. Yeah, I mean, because I learned it. I learned vibrato as like okay, we're going to learn vibrato now, you know? And I learned shifting the same way. Yeah. And then it also came from like getting feedback about my vibrato at certain times. Right. Which is, I'm glad that I was told like, hey, you know, for this style, like I want, you know, someone who I was playing was like, you know, I want you to play with faster vibrato. Yeah. Which is like a totally legitimate ask. And I just wasn't really able to do it well. Yeah. So I'm like, shoot, you know, I gotta get my stuff together. But then that further enforced the like, oh, I gotta work on vibrato, like, as a separate thing, because that's not making the cut or whatever.
Yeah. Did you notice what happened in your body as you were talking about that? Gotta work on the vibrato.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. It's a cactus. Yeah.
So, big theme, relationship of technique and heart. Mm-hmm. It's possible to have little chunks of techniques. Mm-hmm. It's easy to teach in that way. Yeah. Now we're going to do X. Right. And then we're going to take a look at Y. Mm-hmm. You can only talk about one thing at a time.
Yeah, right. That's true.
So it makes sense.
Yeah, it's understandable.
And yet, if there's not a road leading home,
Yeah.
then it's going to remain a bunch of chunks.
Yeah.
So the question is always, how does this technique make me feel?
Yeah. I have a lot of answers to that. I mean, I know how it makes me feel. Yeah.
That's what to pay attention to.
Yeah. I wanna like, I'd love to feel good about vibrato, you know? Not even like, I'd love to feel good about making a note sing, I guess, you know? Or be able to hear different speeds of vibrato.
Yeah.
And use that as like a seasoning.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than feeling like I'm like trying to make 4 gallons of soup in like a teacup.
Yeah. Good. Well, let's do a little bit of that. Maybe let's do a walkabout first.
Sure. Yeah. Definitely intense, actually.
All right, so let's think of the receiving mode here.
Yeah.
All right. One idea is receiving yourself in the room. Receiving yourself in the world. There you go. See that? Happened already. Receiving yourself in the world. Just as you are. And if you notice tension, that's no big deal.
Right.
Receiving the tension. Receiving my hands. It really is just receiving. There you go. What do you notice?
The age-old question. I'm gonna take my gum out, actually. Yeah, I noticed that, like, I'm like, the idea of like receiving something like that is maybe something I'm like trying to feel out, or like, you know, I don't know, just trying to like, not really sure what that means almost. Which is like, on one level, like I get it completely, but on another level I'm like, what does that actually mean?
Yeah. Well, something happened while I was working with you there. A couple of times with my prompts, like your body went like, whoosh. So some part of you understands it, even if you don't know how to do it.
Right.
And that's really one of the things, because you could apply the doing mode to trying to receive.
Yeah, I think that's what I was doing. Yeah.
I have to receive now.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's like, you know, I'm just thinking like, you know, it's really easy and clear to do something.
Yeah.
But reception has way more mystery and like open-endedness, which is something that I think is difficult for us to do.
Yeah, our Western culture, you just perfectly described like yang and yin. Right?
Yeah.
Like the doing mode is clear. Like those are yang, and you even did this.
Yeah.
Like, narrow, pointed, straight, clear. Those are yang characteristics.
Right.
And then receiving mode, open-ended, mysterious.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Those are all yin characteristics.
That's
so
cool.
Noticing that means you're on the right track.
Nice. Yeah.
Because there is an open-endedness.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, we don't have all the answers right here.
Right. Yeah.
It's not a sign of something going wrong.
Yeah, right. That's funny. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so maybe you don't know how to receive. There we go. Your body just got a little bit lighter. Did you notice that?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I did.
Okay. So, receiving yourself in the room. Just here you are. Simple.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Here you are. There you go. That's your back releasing. Do you notice that?
Yeah.
So this is not about your arm.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, that's the whole web. Do you notice that?
Yeah, my right foot kind of felt looser when I did that.
This is not about your arm.
Yeah.
There you go. So that's receiving.
It's really an interesting space to operate from, because it really feels mysterious, and like I feel like it's like, it's not scary, but like on one hand, like it's kind of a scary idea for the ego.
Yes.
To just be like, it's not about you right now.
Yeah.
It's not about you doing anything. Like just like be, just wait and be open, which is, yeah,
there's uncertainty there.
Yeah, uncertainty, I guess. Yeah.
Right.
Of course, it's a super safe space, and like it's just standing, but just like conceptually, it's more than that.
Well, yeah, I mean, on the one hand, like the surface level, what we're doing here, we're releasing excess tension from your body.
Yeah.
How great is that? That sounds very safe, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, wouldn't it feel so nice to be relaxed? And then once you start doing that, you begin to recognize why you were getting tense in the first place.
Yeah.
And very often it's this narrow force and control thing. That feels safer from a certain point of view.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
It's the known.
You don't have to deal with the unknown.
Yeah. Well, at least you don't think that
you don't think you do. Yeah.
Creates the illusion of
right.
Right. So that has a particular pattern in the body. Narrow, tight, that thing. Whereas, like, what if the unknown was safe? What if uncertainty was safe?
One more time for the people in the back. Yeah. I've never even thought about that, but that's so great.
Yeah.
So
here we go. Let's try that again. What if it was safe to be uncertain right now?
Yeah, right.
This is not about your head. What do you notice this time?
I kind of notice, I mean, I generally feel totally good. I don't feel super tense or anything, but I'm not sure if I felt fairly relaxed through most of walking, but I feel like I noticed more like just thinking about the idea of like, what if the unknown is safe? Like that's a really nice thought.
Yeah.
And it's so equally valid as any. Yeah.
Well, what happens in your body when you contemplate the unknown being safe?
Yeah, I mean it's a lovely thought. I feel like relaxed, at ease, kind of like, okay, cool. Like let's explore the unknown. There's nothing to worry about. With it. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. So, where is your curiosity right now?
I think Yeah, my curiosity, I guess, would just be kind of within like playing vibrato or playing music that includes vibrato. Like, how could I think about that in like a better way, or how can I? What kind of mindsets can I bring to practicing in that sense when I feel like I have to deal with the chunk that is vibrato?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, why don't you take your violin?
Yeah.
So, yeah, why don't you play something simple? With a little vibrato in there.
Sure. Yeah. So many thoughts right now. Yeah. It's really not even vibrato. It's like fast vibrato that really I feel like is a chunk for me. Because like vibrato, slow vibrato is easy. And it's like how I've played for years and years and years. But trying to have that faster speed is very new for me. But yeah, certainly, was just focused on, I was like aware of like, I was like, okay, here's tension here, like kind of jumping around still, not really thinking about the music and making beautiful sound.
Yeah, I can kind of see that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the question is not how to manage all this tension.
Yeah, right.
The question is not how to, I don't know, like what's the right technique for doing vibrato quickly.
Yeah.
That's not even the question. The question is, how do you feel? What does your inner audience member say when you do slow vibrato? What does your inner audience member say when you do medium or fast vibrato? That's the question right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. So why don't you just do that again? Same thing, slow vibrato, and notice your inner audience member, your heart, your gut, whatever else might be listening to the inside your body here. Just pay attention to that.
Right.
Moment by moment.
Right. Yeah, I feel like I felt good about that. Like, in terms of the slow vibrato, I was like, yeah, sounds good. Like, I don't think I would necessarily, like, have any issues with that. Like, I guess since I'm, like, trying to get better at faster vibrato, like, my inner audience member is like, ooh, what would it sound like if you tried it with a little more speed?
Yeah.
For some notes, but...
Yeah.
But...
Right, so... So ideas like that, like if it really is coming from like a feeling inside here,
That's interesting. Yeah.
right? Then that's what I call a wish.
Oh, a wish.
Because your inner audience member listens
Uh-huh.
and has wishes.
That's fun.
Right? So what we were doing there was, and you'll notice both as feelings in your body. Like you feel more open or more closed, or like more like you want to move, or less so, or like, more warm or more shut down. Feelings like that. Or you'll notice a bunch of different kinds of things. I don't know. And
Right.
some of that is like, oh, I'm listening, and this is the opinion of my inner audience member, moment by moment, note by note. And sometimes when you listen, very often actually, you'll have a feeling about what you want to do next. Comes from here. Not like, oh, it'd be so cool if I did, it's not like trying to do something cool. It's not trying to control the situation more. It's not, oh, my teacher said, so I should.
Oh,
It's this. So where was that thought coming from?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I feel like it's probably a little bit of the inner audience member as well as probably the mission control, like probably being like, oh, like I'm curious about if I can do this or something even.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
So curiosity, wonderful.
Yeah.
So and it's not a problem for mission control to have thoughts.
Right.
Because like you're playing a song, and like it's useful to know, like, oh, here's that one section, or here this is a chord that's coming up. This is the A7,
right?
Or whatever it is. Useful to know.
Right.
But mission control can get bossy. This is the doing mode.
Yeah. Right.
This is not mission control's job to actually do the playing. It's to be aware.
That's interesting, yeah, because I really don't. I never thought about that, but like I definitely don't like try to play violin. Like I don't have to like think about it like in the same way I'm like thinking about playing piano actually, but
right.
Yeah.
Well, the chunks become different.
Yeah.
Right? For something very basic, it will be like, oh, where does my finger go?
Yeah.
Or that's a chunk.
Right.
And then those chunks become chunked.
Yeah.
And then those chunks become chunked. And then like, oh, it's how that phrasing happens.
Yeah.
Whatever
Yeah.
it might be.
Right.
So right now we're just doing a series of experiments, listening to what comes up. What feelings, what wishes. Why don't you do medium vibrato? Same thing.
Okay, sure.
Just notice here.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's interesting because I feel like I feel like I really have to try to do that. Like it's hard to let myself play. And for some people that could even be slow vibrato. Like it's so different too. And I don't even really know. Maybe I should just spend a little bit more time like figuring out what slow, medium, fast, etc. even feels like or sounds like. But like, so for me, like I don't know. My inner audience member was kind of just like, it was kind of like, yeah, okay. Like I didn't feel super good about that. But
yeah, a bit meh.
Yeah, because I'm like, oh, like I really did have to like. It wasn't effortless at all,
Yeah. Let's try and experiment with that.
Yeah.
I'll work with you with some hands-on.
Okay.
We'll just see what happens.
Sure.
Just try the same thing.
Sure.
And maybe it'll be easier, maybe not. maybe you'll learn something about how to do medium or faster vibrato with less tension, and then you have another idea in mind.
Cool. Play the same thing.
Just listening here.
Man, that feels so much easier to do.
Good.
Like, yeah, wow. God, it's so silly, but it's when you're like reminding my body that I have that space. It's really like I didn't feel like I had to try. And I think that was roughly the same speed.
Yeah.
And so like, God, that's so funny.
Yeah. So, and how did it feel for your inner audience member?
Yeah, I felt much more like, I was like, oh yeah, this feels like it's flowing. Much more like musical. And yeah, just in terms of how I felt about it. I'd have to probably listen back to see what I think about it, I guess.
Yeah. So, to me, okay, so, we practice certain techniques, and it's good to have a repertoire of things that you know how to do, techniques of expression, like vibrato, dynamics, whatever.
Right.
Getting different kinds of tone quality.
Right.
In various ways. It's good to have these in mind, to know how to do these. But even this thing that we're doing here, like trying to have a particular kind of vibrato, can be co-opted by the get it right system.
Oh,
mission control.
Every time for me, yeah.
Right. And therefore it loses its expressive capacity. We can regain some of it here by moving more freely, right? That opens things up.
Yeah.
And yet still the central thought is, gotta get this vibrato.
Right.
Gotta get it.
Right. Yeah.
So an example of the receiving mode would be playing this piece in a way that actually feels good for you here. What would be a way that delights your inner audience member?
Interesting.
Follow your inner audience member. What do you notice?
Yeah, that was way better. Way more fun. I wasn't worried about anything really. Yeah. Way more dynamic, everything. Yeah. It's funny because, that's clearly the way to go. Especially for that piece, but like, I guess, it's like, that piece, I don't even know what I did vibrato-wise then, but I think it sounded nice. But like, it's a difference between, like I guess what I'm thinking is like, okay, great, I love that. So, I don't know if there's sometimes when I do, like, almost like in a survival sense, not truly survival, but like in the sense of like, oh, someone's asking me to play this with like faster vibrato, I'm like, okay, I want to be able to do that for you / me / us, you know. And so it's like, I don't know if I even like hear that yet or something, or like I don't know if my inner audience member would ever play that. So it's like, how do I start incorporating that into myself?
Yeah. Well, you might have a conversation with the person who wants that from you about the feeling that they're going for, because that's what's driving it. Their inner audience member is saying something.
Yeah,
About your vibrato.
Yeah.
And so that might be the place to start. Like, well, how do you feel? How does this actually feel for you when I do the slow vibrato? Or like, what kind of feeling are you going for? And if you know the feeling that they're going for, maybe they can demonstrate something of the feeling that they're going for. And you can get this impression of the feeling, and then you base your playing on the feeling, not the technique.
Wow, that's interesting. Wow.
This is how I teach playing from the heart. This is what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
The heart.
Yeah.
You want to do some of that?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, that'd be great.
This is how I teach playing from the heart. It works even for the little students.
Wow.
Because it's non-conceptual.
Non-conceptual?
Non-conceptual. You don't have to explain it in terms of words very much.
Oh, okay.
So I'll do something like this. Okay, so you just listen. Now what I want you to do when you're listening is to notice how you feel. Like, what's going on in your body? You know, how does this music make you feel when I play it?
Okay.
So I might play it a couple different ways.
Sure.
How do you feel?
You know, I kind of felt like I was sitting in like Arkansas at a little kind of like circle jam session. Some like random person was just picking up the fiddle and like drinking beer in the same hand, you know.
Okay, was that more lively or less lively in here?
Well, it kind of made me nostalgic, so I felt kind of nice.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it had a vibe to it that was like very pure and kind of like earnest, or like something kind of like just simple.
Yeah. What I was thinking about was here. I'm just gonna make this just like trying to get the notes right.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. Right. It sounded like that. Yeah.
See, like the way you think comes out in your sound.
Yeah.
That's one of the core.
Sound like a beginner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're just gonna think about the techniques.
Right.
Getting this note, getting that note.
Right.
And it sounds that way.
Right. I guess I have a certain fondness for
Sure.
that aesthetic sometimes.
Sure. Yeah. It's like some person who's at the jam session and maybe hasn't been playing that long.
Yeah.
It's gonna sound like that.
Yeah.
There can be a rustic charm.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
For sure.
Right.
All right. So same thing. Just noticing how your inner audience member responds.
Nice.
So I did a lot more there. Maybe I'll do it a different version, simpler version. But what do you notice with that?
Yeah, I mean, I felt really excited hearing that. I was like, oh, what's gonna happen next?
Yeah.
I was surprised.
Right.
Or I was like continually like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Like I was very excited to see what you were gonna do. Yeah.
The reason you were excited and surprised was because I was excited and surprised.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know what I was going to do.
Uh-huh.
I didn't plan it.
Uh-huh.
I've played this piece a lot of times, right?
Yeah.
So I have a general sense of what I like.
Yeah, right.
But I'm not planning it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised too.
Uh-huh. Interesting.
The wishes, the listening, it's happening here. It's in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
This is what playing from the heart means.
Mm.
this is what authentic expressivity is. Even having some fancy idea, you know, your great violin teacher gave to you, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
Fine, learn that.
Yeah.
Then forget it.
Mm-hmm.
So even just doing a very simple version of it, without all the fancy stuff,
Sure.
which I might do in an actual lesson. Like after doing it, getting the notes right way.
Yeah.
Then I'll do the simple version, the version my student's actually going to play from the heart.
Beautiful. Oh.
You could do this with your scales.
That's fun. I'll have to try this. Yeah.
Okay, so now the next step that I would do in the lesson is, okay, you play in such a way where you feel the same thing from your own playing.
Oh, interesting.
Little kids can get that. So why don't you try that? Why don't you play in such a way where you make your own inner audience member feel
the same way that I felt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's cool. I like that.
Nice. What do you notice?
Yeah, I noticed that I was like, I was just trying to be like, okay, when I heard you play, I was like, very, yeah, I guess, one of the things I was feeling is like, I was like, oh, I'm not sure what you're gonna do. And so I was like, let me just like try to get in the space where I'm like, not sure what I'm gonna play. But there was a couple times where I was like, well, no, for the most part, I don't think I was really trying to do anything, which was nice. Like, I was just listening. I was just letting myself play whatever.
And how would you
Which is
know what
nice.
to do? How did you know?
Yeah, I
told you
guess.
that?
Yeah, I mean, the song, I guess.
Was there something in here that sort of led to some of those flourishes?
Oh, maybe, yeah.
You know, you could have done a number of different flourishes. You could have done a flourish or not doing a flourish.
Yeah,
How
right.
did you know?
Yeah, I guess I didn't. Maybe.
You did it.
Or I guess I didn't know. Or I didn't
Yeah, maybe not like conceptually or like
Yeah.
from mission control, but something in you told you to do that. Because it made sense. It's not
Oh,
like random
yeah.
notes.
Right. I guess
was very
yeah,
musical.
maybe just like let myself play what I would want to play in that space or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so there's something specific I'm getting at here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it goes back to, again, the inner audience member has two aspects. Feelings, wishes. What we're doing here, sort of in this lesson within a lesson, is like I played something and asked you to notice the feelings that came up in you
Yeah.
around that. And that's a way of transferring the knowledge of the soul to another.
Yeah, that's really heavy. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Right? So then you had that in you. I recognized that kind of listening that I do in myself in you while you were playing that. I recognized that listening. Okay. And you also went in totally new ways that I was surprised by.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, in order to recreate the same feeling I got from you, I was like, playing the melody straight wouldn't replicate it because I wouldn't be surprised by that.
Yeah.
So I was like, I have to let myself do something.
Sure. And so what I'm trying to point at is the wish. There's a wish for your inner audience member for doing some of these things, and it shows up as feelings in your body. There's a wish to do this kind of thing, and there's like a little bit of a kind of feeling.
Oh yeah,
right.
I feel that. Yeah,
right. That's the wish.
That's neat. Yeah, it feels like those types of that kind of wish feels very subtle, and I wouldn't even maybe notice it normally. But I definitely know what you mean. I'm like, I'll be playing something and be like, ooh, I want to do this.
It's that.
I totally know what you mean.
Yeah.
So you think you call that the wish?
The wish.
Nice. So how do you think about the wishes that we have? Just like to honor them and do them?
Generally, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think of wishes, I use that word because there is a sense of releasing control. Like, I want this, and I don't know exactly how it's going to happen, or if it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
So your inner audience member has a wish. This is a very primal part of us.
Right.
And it comes as a gift. Right? A gift has a similar quality, where for something to actually be a gift, not to come with an agenda and not just a transaction, it has to be released. One author says it goes around the corner. You don't know when or if you're going to get something back.
Right.
It's an offering. You think of when you give somebody a gift, how do you want it to be received? What would feel best?
If they liked it.
Yeah. If they took it, they took care of it. You know, if you made a painting for somebody, you spent months on this painting, right? You give it to them, you know, and then 2 weeks later, you go to their house and there's ketchup stains on it. It's thrown in the corner, you know? How would you feel?
Yeah, that would be, not great. Yeah.
Right. When we are playing, ignoring these feelings, trying to control everything, it's like we are ignoring the wishes, ignoring the gifts of our inner audience member. It's like, here's these gifts. Oh, I want to play it this way. No, gotta do it this way.
Oh, that's interesting.
So what would happen to somebody who's trying to give you gifts all the time, but you're ignoring them?
Yeah, they would feel pretty hurt, I think. Yeah.
They'd probably stop sending so many gifts.
Yeah. Right.
This happens to a lot of us. It's not like we mean for it to happen this way, but we get so used to this that this gets shut down.
Yeah, I hear you.
My invitation, what I believe that the world needs, is not more shutdown, but more coming alive. My invitation is to, as much as you can, trust the gifts inside here. This is quite possibly your greatest asset as an artist.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
There's something mysterious about it. Like, where do these wishes come from?
Right.
There's that uncertainty again.
Yeah, right. That type of uncertainty I really bang with. You know, I really understand that type of
Sure.
uncertainty, I think.
Sure. Yeah.
Because it's like improvising. It's
Yeah.
hearing the music in your head. It's,
Yeah. You're very familiar with that
Yeah.
kind of playing. I can hear it when you play.
Yeah.
It's like there's kind of an inner delight.
Yeah, yeah.
Of like, oh, would that be cool?
Yeah, right.
So that's great.
Right. I think one of my goals is to like be able to make all playing feel that way, even if I'm like kind of like trying to like think of what someone else would want as like a gift for myself, almost like play off their gifts to me. I don't know if that's
it sure is
weird way of thinking of it, but
yeah, if you have an audience that's listening, that's a gift to you, right? This is why it feels good to play for a listening audience, and why it feels shitty to play for people who aren't listening.
Yeah.
It's like when there's that gift giving that meets, it connects a circuit. It's like, oh yes.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, like you're receiving the gift of your audience. That's such a turnaround from something like performance anxiety, right? Where you're trying to avoid shame at all costs.
Yeah, wow, that's such a different perspective.
Right?
Yeah.
Versus like, whoa, thank you for giving me your attention. I'm going to pour my heart into this for you.
Yeah. I like that. That's really nice.
Same thing with other musicians, you know? Like musicians who are just like sort of in their zone, sawing away, not much fun to play with.
Yeah, right.
But somebody who can like really listen and like receive your gifts and like give gifts back, and you can easily receive theirs and give it back.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think I'm like, okay, if I can think of like playing in a certain style as like as being a gift for someone else.
Yes.
I think that can be cool.
Yes. Well, it is that.
Yeah, right, it is, right. Because for me, I'm like, right now I'm thinking of like, you know, working on my vibrato speed as being like, I need to like, you know, be good enough for them or something. But if I can instead think of it as like, oh, like, I want to give you this gift of a beautiful melody that you like to hear.
That's right.
That could be a fun perspective to operate from rather than...
Yeah. What if that was your operating perspective in recording?
Yeah, right.
How would that change things?
Yeah, I don't know. I could see that being nice.
It's tough in a recording studio because you're doing this thing over and over.
Right.
It's like giving the same gift over and over. It's tiring.
Yeah, right.
Your inner audience member doesn't really like doing that so much.
Right.
So it's harder that way. It is.
That's neat. Yeah.
So maybe just one more idea, and then maybe you could play that one more time, and then we'll be done.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm writing this book, Soulforce Performance Arts.
Right.
And a big part of it, like a central piece, is what we're talking about here. How to play from the heart, what it really means. And I believe that this is one of the greatest gifts that we can offer the world right now as artists. One of the things that keeps the world the way it is, in my opinion, is fitting ourselves into ways of being, things that we're doing that don't actually bring us alive. Fitting ourselves into the machine.
For like, I think a lot of it's for like financial reasons, just survival.
Yeah, just survival, right?
Right.
It fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Our gifts are not being well given or well received.
Yeah.
This is why it kills our souls. But we do have a choice. You can bring this wherever you go. you're going to feel the pain more acutely. Like if you're flipping burgers, and that's like that's a grind.
Yeah, right.
And if you do that with your inner audience member, maybe it'll bring some joy into your life and the lives of the people around you. It still sucks because it's the system we live in.
Yeah.
It's the system that's got to change. And whenever we do that, we are no longer agreeing to the system as it is. One of the things that we can do through our art, through our performances, is when we really play from the heart, giving these tips, even in non-ideal situations, but hopefully in more ideal situations. What we do is we wake up, even if somebody's not aware of what's happening, we wake up that possibility that, brings up feelings.
Yeah.
We wake up the possibility that somebody could recognize their gifts and like step into a new way of being.
Yeah.
Right? Even without you really knowing why.
Wow, that's beautiful. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. So to me, there's an urgency around playing from the heart.
Yeah, I can see why. Yeah.
The system of the world is not serving us anymore in so many ways.
Right.
Yeah. And one of the great questions that I've been working with is like, and that I hear from other artists, like, what can I do? Well, this is one thing.
Yeah, that's a neat perspective. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, thank you.
One more time.
Yeah.
Why don't you finish the melody?
Tennessee Waltz. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, nice.
Such a beautiful melody.
It is.
That's Tennessee Waltz, right? Okay, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, thank you so much. There's so many amazing things to think about. Wow, yeah.
All right, thanks, Gabe.
Thank you, yeah. Thank you, Joseph. Yeah, jeez.